Grace. Okay, ladies, take a break.
Pastor Charles.
Grace.
Return grace.
Oh, who said? No, who said it? Said that Grace?
Yes.
Oh,
Pastor Charles, could you come up to the where the table is here? It's better for optics. Thank you.
Better for optics. Okay. Well, thank you all for coming. And if you did not know, there is coffee in the kitchen. Sorry, there is coffee in the kitchen.
In the carafe here on the table. In the carafe, yeah.
Okay. Oh. And there. And does anyone need decaf? Okay, I will put some decaf on. And if you're not familiar with the layout, the restrooms are down here on the left of the hall, and there's also restrooms at the far end that way, to the north. So, thank you for being here today. Let's pray. Gracious God, we have gathered this day to remember. We remember the good times and the bad, the highs and the lows. But throughout all of this, we have felt your presence. So Donna was with us for a season, now she remains with you. Grant us this day, bless the hands that have prepared and shared this food with us, the fellowship in which we share it, and your love, which makes it all worthwhile. Amen.
Amen.
And where?
That's better. It had come out of the outlet, so it was looking dim. What would you ladies like to drink? Oh, you have
If you have not gotten a ladybug, there's a whole bunch. You want ladies to people to take it because I understand that it's not one.
you need too.
Okay. Is this better?
Ladies, Joanne can't talk over everybody.
Okay, there's ladybugs to be taken, and I spoke with Deb last night, and she sounded really, really good. And Belinda is recording the event today since Deb could not be with us, so she'll get to see what went on. And others have taken pictures, so that will help too. So enjoy lunch, and then we'll start in.
And if you're wondering why everything is so red here today, I kind of wondered. That's Donna Wasson's favorite color. So we're celebrating her love for life and love of color, and especially ladybugs. So that's why you see ladybugs on the napkins. So enjoy your lunch.
So you decided whether to call her what?
The fruit plate has been here. This is Deb.
And where?
But I like some Deb.
Oh, that because she's doing a lot more than she has. Making her own. I don't need I've been there. Yeah.
If we could have your attention,
Before we get started on the celebration of Donna, there's some thank yous I want to say to Donna, or to Jan, who took care of all the wonderful food for us today. And I would like for her to introduce the rest of the people at her table. And we're happy to have Randy, Debbie's significant other, with us today.
Hi, we're glad we could be with you today because I know Donna, would appreciate getting all her friends together. You guys were such an amazing support to her over the years. The community, the fun you guys would have, the laughs, and doing doing all the different centerpieces and sales and all the things. I know it meant a lot to her. So, so with us here today, it's Deb's significant other, Randy, in the shades, and Donna's nephew, Brent, and my husband is here in the blue shirt. Stand up, come on. And his sister and Donna's niece, Sherry, is here. And our daughter, Leslie, is here. And another niece-in-law, Krista, is up, has been helping us serve the whole time. So thank you for having us join us. And to everybody who set up these lovely tables and centerpieces, so thanks so much.
And a thank you to Belinda, Kathy, and Pastor Charles for setting up the tables and decorating them yesterday. It was a huge success, and it meant a lot that I didn't have to worry about that. Okay, at this time, Pastor Charles would like to say a few words, and then after he finishes, we'll start with our celebration of Donna. Think of something that you remember about Donna and tell about it, okay?
I gotta take my teeth out or I can't talk.
1 second, Charles. Cold and flu season, we're gonna wipe this off before
Well, this is one of those times when I would kind of wish I was going last, just because y'all know Donna in a whole different way than I ever did. So the one thing I can say about Donna that I appreciated was when we got to go to where she was living in Westminster, to the So What that we held down there. And how important it was for her that she could be able to offer hospitality. And that she was able to be part of the community even though she wasn't a weekly part of it. So that's the kind of person that got all y'all to come out this afternoon. Someone who wanted you to feel welcome. And someone who was glad to be part of your world. So, with that, I give you back to Belinda. You want to write it down?
It's all in the family.
Charles and I have been here for 4 years. We're in our 5th year. And when we first got here, someone said, well, you need to go to Donna Wasson's house because that's where you fold church newsletters. And I said, oh, okay. So I went there and her home was so lovely, so inviting, so welcoming. And we sat there and folded church newsletters and just had the best time. And afterwards she walked me out to the front of her home. And neighbors walked by and she was introducing me. This is the new pastor's wife, and I was meeting people, but she was so intentional about welcoming me, welcoming us, and making sure her neighbors knew who I was. And so she was really the connector. I really appreciated how she took the extra effort and time to connect people one to the other. Would someone else like to turn it over to Joanne?
I met Donna in 1978 when we first came to St. Paul's. And I thought, who is that lady? She never smiles very much. But once I got to know her, we became good friends. She and I worked for years on the yard sale. And we did the Christmas luncheon together for many years. And also would help her set up the tables. Well, if she was upset with them, it was Cooper. That's not right. You got to move it. But she was such a joy to work with, and we became good friends. And she found out that I collect snowmen. So Jan found these someplace in Donna's house and brought them to me today.
Nice.
And I found out she liked ladybugs. So I was up in Estes Park one day in one of the gift shops, and I found these measuring spoons and brought them to her. So we had a good thing going. And when I had So What the last time, she got to come, Deb brought her. And when Deb came to pick her up, she didn't want to leave. And she said, in a minute, I'll be ready. Not yet, in a minute. Come to find out, poor Randy was sitting in the car all that time. And it was pretty warm. And when we walked Donna out, I found him sitting in there, and I said, well, why did you come in? And he said, oh, I'm okay. So, but she was such a delightful person, a hard worker. When she first started doing the newsletter, they had to be done by zip codes.
Ooh, yes.
And they had to be so many per zip clothes. And she would sit and count each one. And then Jean would mail them for her. So we just had a lot of good times. So, okay, who else would like to say something about Donna?
Well, when I met Donna, Debbie was so little. And Debbie and I were about 7.5 years apart in age. And I went over to Debbie, and she had short blonde hair and an orange, like a tent dress, and she kept going in circles. So I said, Debbie, you're going to get dizzy. And she fell down, but I got her back up. And her mother was really good to us. And for my birthday, when I was, I think, late 20s, early 30s, she made me 2 special birthday cakes.
Aww.
One was a basket of flowers that you could eat.
Ooh.
It was really fancy. And the other one was like a sheet cake, like a field. It had a fence around it with a horse, because I used to have a horse
Wow.
back in the 70s. So I thought that was pretty special. So I'm really going to miss her.
Would someone else like to say something?
Somebody else say something. Mikki.
I'll say something.
Thank you.
Hi, I met Donna and Dorothy Lang, basically, and Kathy Adams, in a stitch group years ago when Mark was born. So, however many years that was ago.
52.
And we would alternate going to everybody's house and having our stitching once a month. And we had this Swedish cream. We'd have that and her date cake or something that she made all the time. And Jean would keep saying, why are you baking that again for them? And she said, because everybody loves it. And we did. We loved it. She was a great hostess, we always had lots of food to eat, and it was all really wonderful. And It was just fun. And at Christmas, I would usually have the group at our house, and she would always take home the chocolate-covered cherries because Jean liked the chocolate-covered cherries. But I think she did too. So, you know, whatever. But we will miss her. She was a joy. An ordinary joy sometimes, but a joy.
That's lovely. Anybody else?
Somebody else say something.
I'll be working my way down.
Yes, Donna to me was this frail little person who was always in the kitchen. But then she asked me, she said, we're trying to find people who like to play games. And I said, oh, I do. So I got introduced to her and Mikki and Jan and Kay Rice. And we'd meet about once a month and play several different games. There was a Mexican train and there was another one. But I saw a different side of Donna. She could play games and she was in there for competition. Yeah. She also made me those little scrunchies that you use to clean your dishes, scrub your dishes. And I still have them. She was just full of talents.
Aw, that's super.
Somebody else?
Thank you, Belinda, for taking such good care of us. The first time I ever saw Donna, I hadn't been a part of this church group for very long, but we were having some kind of event that involved a lot of work in the kitchen, and here was this little woman who was just doing all the work, and I had never seen her before in the service or anywhere else, and I remember asking somebody, well, who is that? I thought maybe somebody had hired somebody to come in and do stuff because she seemed to know where everything was and all that sort of stuff, and so that was my introduction. And of course I saw her many, many times after that. She was always so dependable. She was a part of all of these events and things that she really wanted to help celebrate through UMW or whatever her connection was. And then the games, I'd forgotten about that. And the other thing I remember about her is she lived across the street from y'all, right? Didn't she live here? Right. And so I was coming out of Dot's house one day, and she was in the yard, and I walked over there, and I noticed that she had a lot of plants, and they were planted in things like old tennis shoes, and I thought, oh, that is an idea. I never thought of doing that. So somehow now, if I go down that street, I think about both of those families that lived on either side of it. So that's a good memory. And thank you all for all the work y'all did to put all this wonderful luncheon together. It's just great, and this is so good.
So Donna started a tradition in our family that when my husband was young, she would do Advent boxes for them. So they'd have something different to open every day, and it might be paper clips or an eraser or something like that. Well, our boys had just gone off to college and our daughter was with us, and we decided we'd renew that tradition. And so we started doing boxes for the boys at college and other relatives and friends' kids and stuff like that, and we still do it. But she started that tradition, and so I'm hoping our grandchildren love it, and so I'm hoping that they will then continue that tradition that she started. Oh, and she did ones for my husband and I 2 years ago, I think. So it was just kind of a, because we had done it back for her a few times, and so she, even with little time and, energy, she did it anyway. So.
I want to echo what Joanne said about who was that lady that never smiles, because that was what I remember also when I first met Donna or first saw Donna. But I later learned that she loved being with people, and she really, really loved being able to offer her talents and her resources and her creativity. I still to this day have in my jewelry box a macaroni angel that she made for the Christmas luncheon. And I also like Charles. I remember that So What meeting that she hosted at the atrium where she was living, and it was so wonderful, and she was so happy to have people share her beautiful mountain views and everything. So, great lady. I miss her too.
I met Donna and the family late 62 or early 63. We were in our house, and theirs I think was still being built at the time. And again, she was the neighbor that never smiled. But my mom and Dorothy and Donna and a few others started a knitting club. They called themselves the Knitwits. And once a month, they'd go to someone's house and they would sit, knit, crochet. Dorothy did a lot of crewel work. It was fun, and you got to see all of them. But yeah, so I was 5 years old when I met Donna, the lady that never smiled. So.
Okay, so many people have talked about Donna not smiling. The time I do remember her smiling was the last time that we had So What at Joanne's house. And she was talking about her early life, and I've forgotten her husband's name. Gene, of course. And even growing up years. And she was smiling and very gregarious, very outgoing. It was really a delight to watch. She didn't, you could tell she wanted to do some kind of craft, but wasn't able to. But that was a very special memory of Donna.
Donna got upset with me one time, and it was when Jean passed away. It had not come out on the prayer chain, and I did not know about it. So Skippy Rollins called. I had gone to the grocery, and Austin took the call. And when I got home, he told me what had happened. So I immediately called Donna, and then later on, we came to her house. What'd I do?
Oh, you turned it off, it's fine. That's it.
So anyway, we went to her house a little later that day, and she was so happy to see us. She says, I wondered why you hadn't called. And I said, but I didn't know. If I had known, I'd have been here that day. So she just was a real neat, happy person. And as Michele said, she smiled at my house that day and did not want to go home. And we kept saying, well, stay a little longer. But poor Randy was sitting out in the car.
I have a question, Joanne. Do you know how Donna first became affiliated with St. Paul?
No, I think it's probably through .lang.
Yeah, I would guess.
Okay.
And, cause she was already treasurer when I came in '78.
Yeah.
And, then when it came up that we were gonna continue with the yard sale, we did it for a long time, and I mean, everything had to be so-so. And you just didn't pile stuff on the tables. No, they had to be in their place. The same way with the Christmas luncheon. Everything had to be in their place. And then we had the men serve. And she would kind of oversee to make sure the men served it right. And she always sat at the front table to collect money and to make sure everybody had their name tags. And Jean would make all the name tags for the Christmas luncheon. They have left a hole in our church, that's for sure. Somebody else must have something to say.
Don't you have a poem about a ladybug or something? A story?
My main memories are of that Christmas ladies luncheon. It was so special. You come in and it was magical. And the work that Donna and Joanne did for decades, was it? It was for such a long time to make this gathering where we would all bring other people. You'd bring your sister, your mother, your neighbors, and everybody would come. And it was just so lovely. And I remember when it had to end, Dr. Scott was very disappointed and said something to Joanne, and she said, all the people doing it are over 80. We're getting a little bit tired.
I was the youngest one, 79.
Joanne was the youngest one at 79, and I don't know how old Donna was there, but you can't,
She's 5 years older,
So, yeah, it was,
or 6 years older.
that was just such a gift to the congregation, and the two of you made that happen over and over again for us.
Thank
Well, we've been here a shorter time than any of you. And I didn't get to know Donna very well because she wasn't coming to services at that point. But she was the lady who was working on the newsletters. Every time I saw her, other than at So What, she would be carefully putting those newsletters together and getting them out. And I remember when we switched to all email, I thought, yeah, well, that's Donna's job, and she must feel bad about not having that piece to contribute to the church. I'm sure she found other ways.
Switch sides of the room.
Sit up. Jennifer, sit up. That's how she remembers Donna. In the office.
I'll just say something really quick about Donna, and just a quick story, because it's been brought up about maybe Donna not smiling a lot. We have the privilege of traveling with Jean and Donna really all over the world, and one of the most favorite things they enjoyed was traveling on the cruise ships. And we did a number of cruises with Jean and Donna, and typically what would happen is Randy would be the photographer, and you'd have Jean and Donna and Debbie, and we would get them to pose in front of whatever. And of course, Jean had a great smile, Debbie's always had a great smile, and then you had Donna. And it was always a challenge to get Donna to smile. And on one of the cruises, this kind of started some time ago, but we were talking about, the port side of the ship and the starboard side of the ship and the fore and the aft, and I started yelling at Deb to pinch her in the aft. And for some reason, that always seemed to work. So I've got a lot of pictures of Donna smiling. There's no recordings on there, so you didn't hear what caused her to smile, but she was smiling. So we do have a lot of pictures of Donna smiling.
That's a good one to end on.
It's a good one to end on. Anyone else?
It's hard to top
I know, it's hard to top Randy's. And it's certainly giving us reason to have a big smile on our faces.
Oh, yes, exactly.
When I think of Donna Wasson, just popcorn, what kind of a word do you think of when you think of Donna Wasson? I think of gracious, hospitality, loving, commitment, dedicated, commitment, hard worker, focused. She was small in stature, but her heart was so huge. Her heart was so huge. Nothing was beneath her. If something needed to be done, she was there to get it done. That's what I keep hearing about her. She was a good neighbor, a good friend. And I remember personally I loved asking her to tell me stories about what it was like when she and Jean and the family first moved here. I loved hearing the stories about how they chose the house, how, some of the roads were still dirt roads. Things were just beginning in this neighborhood. And so it was like the neighborhood, the church, all of this in South Boulder just sort of emerged together in the mid-60s. It all started happening. And Jean and Donna and family and neighbors and this church community, it all kind of grew up together. It's exciting. I used to love to ask her, about how they decided why they came to Boulder. I believe it was to find work. It was because of work. And everything was new and all the possibilities were new. But I met her late in her later years, and yet she was folding church newsletters. She was still very much committed to helping in any way she could. I loved hearing stories about the Christmas luncheons and the yard sales. We did get in on the very last yard sale we ever had at this church, and it's a lot of work. It was a lot of work. We've been part of church yard sales before, but the gold standard for organizing, people would come like the week before and price everything, and oh my gosh, it was like a well-oiled machine. I'm sure Donna Wasson had a lot to do with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, when you think about her legacy, it's a rich legacy, and it's one to inspire all of us. I didn't know her that long, but I feel like I know her, and I feel like I have such deep appreciation and respect for her character, and the way she treated other people.
Yeah.
Something for us all to try to meet that gold standard. She was a role model. She was a role model. So much to learn from her, and now the challenge is for each of us to live out that gracious hospitality and generosity and commitment to neighborhood and to one another, and do it in her honor. Anything else someone would like to add? The family wants to remind you that Donna did love ladybugs, and so there's many things with ladybugs on them that you're invited to go and peruse what's there, and take something home as a memento to remind you of this dear lady. Thank you so much for coming today, and thank you so much to the family who provided such a beautiful luncheon for us. And not only providing a luncheon, but giving us space to remember and to celebrate a life well lived.